Okay, so tell me about how you came to the country.
All right, in 1949, I came to Florida with a group of 8 other girls. We came with the intention of we wanted to be missionaries in Florida and to enter the Sisters of St. Joseph, St. Augustine, for missionary work. And we had 4 to 5 years like training, we had the apostolancy, and then we took first vows, and then 3 years we had final vows. And then during that time, some of us were sent out in the missions, either to teach or whatever. And I was teaching for a few years. I think it was 4 or 5 in St. Augustine. And then I got the assignment. I always wanted to be a nurse. So my assignment says that I was going to go away and for nurse training. And I went to Louisville, Kentucky, and I spent maybe over 3 years studying. And I graduated in 1959, and I came back to Miami. I was assigned to Mercy Hospital, and I, under the directions of one of the sisters, I learned, the works of the hospital, what they did, and so then I was assigned to, after I took state boards. I didn't take state boards until January, and I had to come to Jacksonville to take my state board. And then I set out to, I was on the surgical floor, was on the 4th floor surgical floor, and also on a surgical medical floor, and I was the supervisor. And I was there when the Cuban refugees in 1960, and were we busy. And we didn't speak. Very few of us spoke Spanish. And after that, the hospital had Spanish lessons, we took conversational Spanish, and then we went to the college and had more studies. And while at Mercy, I worked in supervisory for a few years, and then I worked in every department except psychiatry. My longest time there was in the emergency room, which I liked very much. And I think I was 17 years working in the emergency room. And then after that, I kind of got tired of it. So then I was changed to work with the family, which I liked very much. It was in the surgical lobby. And I met the visitors, the family, when the patient came in for surgery early in the morning. And then I knew when the doctor would call out for the family, I knew the family here, or there's no family, And that way, I was very fond of that kind of work, and the patients. I met lovely people. And sometimes then when we had a cardiac open heart surgery, the doctor would always call out during the surgery and tell you how the surgery was progressing. And you would tell the family, doctor called, and he said they're now on bypass, and the patient is doing very well. Oh, that made them so happy. And let's see what else. And then let's see, and I also worked relieved the night nurse in maternity ward, and I also worked in the nursery and orthopedics, every floor, as I said, except psychiatry. And had my years of Mercy were lovely. I really enjoyed. And it was like a big family. And I always remember at Christmas time, my first years there, we would have midnight mass. And the doctors and their wives and the family would be there. And then when mass was finished, they all went into the cafeteria and they all had greetings, you know. It was exchange greetings. It was beautiful. And as I say, my many, many happy days at Mercy. It was like a big family. But then, some years ago, when Mercy was thinking of changing, it's now under HCA, Healthcare of America now, and that's for profit. And it's not the same, you know. And then, you know, the hospital was sold. And I lived on campus. We had a beautiful convent. And then I retired in '85. I think I spent 45 years nursing at Mercy. And then I came to St. Augustine, Lourdes, and I'm retired now, and I enjoy my retirement very much. And I read a lot, and I do activities, you know, and I like to crochet and knit. And
Very good. So the ER was where you were the happiest?
yes, yeah, it was very exciting, and we were always so busy. And talk about Sundays. I think Sunday afternoon was very busy because during the summer, you know, the hot weather, people would go to the beach, and they come in and they get at the beach. They would have man-of-war burns, and everybody would be crying, and we used to treat them with soda and I've forgotten the other one. Anyway, and then for once they cooled down and they feel better, and then they were very happy and they would go home. But it was awfully on a Sunday afternoon. And we took turns, you know, you rotated your schedule.
So today, oh, you're fine, okay. So today, in your day-to-day activities, what makes you happy?
Well, when I look back, I am happy that I, accomplished what I set out to do, you know. As a youngster going to school, I always wanted to be a nurse, and I used to babysit in the village, you know. And then, when I got out of school, I wanted to go to England. And my mother wouldn't hear of it. She said, no, you can't go to England, you're going to lose your faith. So I went to Dublin. I had one of my sisters was living there. And while I was there, I worked in a hospital as a nurse's aide in a children's hospital. And that's what I got my love for nursing. And I was so happy when I went for nursing. It was just everything I wanted. Yeah.
So do you remember when you felt called?
When I felt what?
When you felt called to join the ministry, to go into this work?
Oh, yes, yes.
Do you remember that moment?
I do. See, I went to the national school in Ireland, which was the Sisters of Charity in Ireland, the school. And then when they used to bring visitors that came back from the foreign lands, you know, that were out there with their missionary work. And I said, oh, that's what I want to be. I want to be a missionary. And that was in my mind, you know. And I said, well, someday it's going to happen. And I happened to see a sister of St. Joseph that was visiting in Ireland from Florida. And she was trying to see if she could get some girls who were interested in. And I met her, and then I joined the other 8. There was 9 of us. And of the 9, I think I'm the last one left.
Is there anything about your story along the way that you'd like to tell us today that you haven't talked about already?
No, I can't remember right now. I'm sure there's many, many, exciting moments that I enjoyed. But I always enjoyed coming back to the mother house during the summer for retreats and meeting all my friends, that were in the novitiate together. But I did spend all my life almost in Miami, 46 years in Miami. Yeah.
Do you like the climate here better than in
Oh,
Miami?
well, I liked Miami very much. And I like here now too. I'm getting used to it, but I kind of find it's more cold, than Miami. But in Miami, we had a beautiful place. It was lovely.
You mentioned that you're retired now.
Yes.
So in terms of the day-to-day time that you spend here, is there any one thing about your retirement that you realize that you're in the right place at the right time?
Yes. When I get up in the morning and I just realize, I go and get my coffee and come back, and then I sit down to say my prayers. And I'm so happy, I would say. I have nothing to worry about, everything is taken care of. And, and then we have Mass in the house, in the convent. And then you're free to do, what you want to do. During the winter months, I like to crochet, and I like sports. When the football is on, there's few teams I like to follow. And I like, what's the other one? And basketball, And I like to read, spiritual reading or maybe a nice novel or something like that.